My name is Robert Miner, and this is my circulatory system TED Talks. The functions of the circulatory system can be categorized into three major areas that are transportation, regulation, and protection. When we look at the movement of all the substances that are necessary for cellular metabolism in the circulatory system, we are looking at the transportation function. When oxygen and carbon dioxide or respiratory gases are moved, it is accomplished by red blood cells or erythrocytes. One of the vital parts of the transportation function is the movement of nutritive substances throughout the entire body. We need the regulation function to regulate the pH of our body. It is done through buffers that are dissolved in blood and amino acids. When our body responds to an injury and fights off something foreign, it's done with the protective function of our blood. White blood cells or leukocytes help to fight off infection. Our vascular system has a viscous connective tissue that will circulate throughout the entire body. The study of this viscous tissue or blood is called hematology. The human body is made up of two basic components. One is plasma, that is a straw-colored liquid, and the other is a bunch of minute particles that are solid. These solid particles will either be referred to as blood cells, formed elements, or leukocytes, better known as white blood cells, and the thrombocytes or platelets. Red blood cells or erythrocytes basically are tiny discs that are biconcave that will lose their nuclei before they even enter the bloodstream. The red blood cells will contain hemoglobin, which will pick up oxygen in the blood. It's the iron in the blood that will give the rich color. Red blood cells will come from red marrow in our bones. Hemoglobin will consist of both heme, that is a pigment that contains iron, as well as protein referred to as globin. Both bilirubin and biliverdin are pigments that are destroyed by our liver and also will be restored in the gallbladder. Jaundice can be caused when our liver fails and an excess of these pigments will be built up in our bloodstream. We have some spherical cells that has all types of sizes of nuclei called white blood cells or leukocytes, who have primary function of fighting of infection in our body tissues. Sometimes these white blood cells can even go through our capillaries to help with infection through a process called diapedias. We subdivide leukocytes into 5 different categories that are usually grouped into 2 different categories by characteristics of their cytoplasm, or what we find inside the cell. Some of these will contain small granulates, or are called granulocytes. The ones that do not contain granules are referred to as agranulocytes. Phagocytosis is a process of leukocytes will seek out foreign substance in our blood. These cells are called phagocytes. The smallest of the blood cells are called thrombocytes or platelets that average about 3 microns in diameter. They are also produced in the red bone marrow in the bones. Plasma is a liquid in our blood. This is where we will find formed elements suspended as well as other substances that are dissolved in it. Our plasma will contain 92% to 95% water, and the dissolved components in our plasma make up about 5 to 8%. When we talk about the study of the heart, we are referring to cardiology. Our heart is basically a pump that serves to pump blood to all our parts of the body. The heart will lay in the inferior portion of the space between our lungs called mediodastium. There are 3 tissue layers of the heart. The outermost membrane is called epicardium or vascular pericardium. The middle layer is also called myocardium, and the inner layer is called endocardium. The heart will have 4 chambers. The 2 chambers where the blood will enter the heart are called atria or atrium, when just referring to the right or left atrium. The blood will exit the heart through the heart's lower chambers called right and left ventricles. The heart has a dual pumping action that will produce two systems of circulation. One of these systems is referred to as pulmonary circulation that will carry blood from the heart to the lungs to get oxygen and then back to the heart again. The other part of the blood vascular system is a systematic circulation, and this will carry blood to all parts of the body. Each chamber of the heart has at least one vessel. The right atrium of the heart has 3 vessels that will enter the chamber. The superior vena cava will drain the head as well as the upper extremities. The inferior vena cava provides blood drainage to the abdomen and the lower extremities, and the third vessel is the coronary sinus that drains the heart itself. The right ventricle has only one vessel referred to as a common pulmonary artery that carries blood to the lungs. The left atrium has 4 vessels that enter the heart called pulmonary veins, 2 from each lung and to return blood from the lungs. The left ventricle has a large vessel that exists called the aorta or extending aorta that carries blood to the whole body. The atrial septum divides the right and left atria, and the right and left atrium is separated by the right and left atrioventricular septum. The right one will contain a valve called tricuspid or right anteroventricular valve. This valve is divided into 3 cups that have cords called chordae tendineae, and the muscle connected to the cords called papillary muscle. In the left ventricular septum is a valve called left atrioventricular valve. There are valves located at the opening of the vessels that exit the heart. The one at the exit of the right ventricle is called pulmonary summular valve. The valve at the exit of the left ventricle is called aortic summular valve. The cardiac cycle is a cycle through which the heart pumps blood with the contraction phase called systole that begins with the impulse to react with the sinoarterial node, or sometimes referred to as a pacemaker. The contraction wave will continue until it strikes another node called the atrioventricular node, and when the heart relaxes, it is called diastole. Thank you.